Patriots. This is Big John Lipscomb, and this may or may not be news to you, but we aren't all as free as we could be. Freedom is a choice that must be renewed each and every day with sacrifice and effort. Otherwise, it will erode as government leans against our individual sovereignty. Get prepared and start growing your own healthy heirloom vegetable garden. I have a brand new all-in-one garden kit that includes everything you need to have an award-winning garden. 67 varieties of vegetables, all treated with, again, 67 trace minerals for ultimate growth and health. I have a soil test kit inside, a garden planner, a book teaching you how to save seeds, and even a video about gardening. You'll love it. It's the best out there, and you can find it at survivalistseeds.com.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
You're listening to The Micro Effect.
And welcome and good evening to everyone listening to this broadcast. It is Friday, October 7th, and I welcome you to the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I am your host, Robert Pepino, and this evening we have an incredible, fabulous, wonderful guest. I have talked to Mr. Brooks Agnew. Dr. Brooks Agnew is a physicist, PhD, commercial scientist engineer. He will be on with us just in a few minutes. We're going to have Paul, our news correspondent, come in with the news for a few minutes, and then we will get back to our show. So I want everybody to stick around. This is going to be an incredible, fascinating conversation with Dr. Agnew. Stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show, and Paul will be coming with you in just a second.
For the Whole Agenda Radio Show with tonight's news. Food prices are skyrocketing all across the globe with no end in sight. Why growing and storing your own food can be a gold mine. The United Nations says food inflation is currently at 30% a year. As the dollar drops in value due to runaway money printing at the Federal Reserve, the cost to import foods from other nations looks to double in just the next 2 years, and possibly every 2 years thereafter. Food yields are down because of radical climate changes, a loss of fossil water supplies, and the failure of genetically engineered crops. Investors are buying up farmland in the U.S., Europe, Latin America, and Africa as global food prices soar, reports Bloomberg magazine. A fund controlled by George Soros, the billionaire hedge fund manager, is 23.4% of a South American farmland venture company. Jim Rogers is also quoted in the same story saying, "I have frequently told people that one of the best investments in the world will be farmland. What all this means is we can count on three things happening in the years ahead. Food supplies will become more scarce. Food prices will double over the next 2 to 3 years and then probably double again in another 2 to 3 years. When food prices are 400% of today's level, backyard farming or gardening pays off big in terms of real dollar savings. You can't grow gold and you can't print your own currency, but you can grow something more valuable than gold and money, and that is food." A county in Florida has installed fingerprint scanners in school buses. Described as one of the most monumental things that Washington County has ever done by an education bureaucrat, machines have been used since the beginning of this school year. School officials decided moving the scanners to the buses was a more effective way to monitor students. They plan to have a scanner and laptop installed on every bus in the district. We got to talking about attendance in our district and how it was inconsistent, School Superintendent Sandra Cook said. The effort to digitally monitor the whereabouts of students in Florida follows a national trend. In 2010, the Los Angeles Unified School District told students they would have to submit to a compulsory biometric identification system in order to receive lunch. Other K-12 schools have used fingerprint and biometric systems during lunch and to improve reimbursement for federal programs such as No Child Left Behind. Police in Ohio use CompuLink laptop computers to record children's fingerprints at the Stark County Fair and other events. The information was uploaded to the federal Amber Alert system. In 2010, a school district in Philadelphia faced a class action lawsuit after allegedly issued laptop computers to 1,800 students across 2 high schools and then used concealed cameras within the machines to spy on students and their parents without their knowledge or consent. Many schools in the United States now resemble prisons. Students are often treated like criminals and terrorists. In other words, schools are teaching our young people how to be obedient subjects in a totalitarian society. The return of real money is making swift gains as public distrust and uncertainty about the viability of fiat currencies continues to grow. China is installing automated teller machines that dispense gold bullion rather than paper currency. Since 2000, the price of gold in terms of U.S. fiat currency has jumped nearly 800% as a result of inflation and the continued decline of the dollar. In response to this and the perpetual decline and instability of fiat currencies in general, the Chinese metropolis of Beijing has installed its first gold ATM in a shopping mall, and more than 2,000 gold ATMs are set to be installed elsewhere throughout the country to allow residents to easily exchange their cash for the precious metal. Over the past several years, the Chinese government has been encouraging its citizens to exchange their money for gold and silver in order to protect their wealth against inflation and an unraveling world economy, something our government and others discourage. After all, the failing U.S. dollar is still the world's international reserve currency, and China currently holds the largest share of U.S. debt of all the countries in the world. Gold ATMs are popping up in many other countries besides China as well, including in both Germany and the U.S. The machines maintain a constant feed of gold's market price in terms of a nation's currency and adjust the prices for customers accordingly. The U.S. dollar cannot and will not last forever, and neither will any other fiat currency that is backed by nothing. That is why many liberty-minded folks around the world have been encouraging others to preserve their wealth by investing in gold and silver. Texas man is facing battery charges after say he hit his estranged New Mexico wife and pulled her hair over her lack of response to his Facebook status update. Carlsbad Current Argus reports that 36-year-old Benito Apilar of Paco, Texas, was arrested Monday following a fight with his estranged wife, Dolores. According to the criminal complaint, Benito posted a comment on his Facebook page about the anniversary of his mother's death, but Dolores didn't click the like status button. So Benito confronted her at her house, and that's when the fight started. He did plead not guilty to one charge of battery. Visitors to the New York Zoo were stunned when the baby duck suddenly appeared inches from a 190-pound western lowland gorilla. Onlookers held their breath to see what would happen to the feathered visitor. But rather than give the little duckling grief, the 4.5-foot gorilla became fascinated with the tiny bird and played gently with its new friend. The 15-year-old female ape called Fran happily let it waddle about. One individual said, "I was at the zoo and a commotion at the gorilla exhibit started. School children were yelling, 'Ducky, ducky.' Then I spotted the small duck log right next to a seemingly amused gorilla. We all watched with amazement as the little duckling wandered about the exhibit while the gorilla watched intently. The duckling did not seem the least bit intimidated and seemed to be fascinated by the large, hairy creature. Although gorillas are frequently portrayed as aggressive, dangerous killers, they are shy, peaceful vegetarians." Much to the dismay of Fran the gorilla, the duckling was forcibly but safely removed by zookeepers. And then finally, on a personal note, I've been accused of having ADHD or adult attention deficit disorder. I always thought of it as having my head in the clouds or that I was thinking intently. Metaphysicians might refer to this as not being grounded. Whatever it is, I do space out easily. But through years of my own research, I've finally found out what the problem really is, if it is one. It is not that I have ADHD or adult attention deficit syndrome or that I'm not grounded. It is that I'm so poor I can't even pay attention. Well, that's it for me tonight. This has been Paul Landers for the Whole Agenda Radio Show. Robert will be right up with tonight's special guest. Thank you and good night.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino. And this evening, we have the incredible Dr. Brooks Agnew. Dr. Brooks Agnew is a PhD, is a commercial scientist and engineer with more than 17 years of field research in Earth topography. His has patents, has revolutionized photo polymer applications, digital imaging, and high-speed manufacturing process, creating more than 5,000 jobs. His technology is issued on at least two planets to explore for water and other compounds. He was featured scientist in the video documentary on HARP, Holes in Heaven, directed by Emmy Award-winning Wendy Robbins. He co-authored the 2 national best-selling volumes of The Ark of the Millions of Years. He is currently the leader of the North Pole Inner Earth Expedition and managing trustee of the Phoenix Science Foundation. Dr. Brooks Agnew, thank you so much for being on the program, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Robert. Wow, what an introduction. Show's over already.
Well, you certainly deserve it, sir. On a personal note, we've spoken, and I find you incredibly fascinating as well as enlightening and educational.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. And Dr. Agnew, the very first thing I want to ask is, how did you come to your awakening and your enlightening about what's been going on the planet now for quite a while? Because I know that there's so many people who have come to this great awakening, and I know you shared your experience at our local Phoenix MUFON chapter here, and I was just mesmerized by your speech, by the way.
Well, I kind of went through life like everybody else, trial and error, mostly error. And I was, involved in my religion and, raised 4 kids happily in that. And was going along eating cookies, drinking milk, minding my own business one day. And I happened to be at my first lecture after publishing my first book with my co-author, E.J. Clark. And we had done, many years of research to do this series of books, which encompasses about 2,000 pages, about 2012 and the end times and what the ancients thought about it. And we approached it from a nonfiction point of view. Everything in it was factual. Everything was backed up with, heavy bibliography from over 40 ancient texts. And although we thought it was a really good book, honestly, I thought that EJ would buy 5 copies, I would buy 5 copies, and we would call ourselves authors. But I guess the public had something else in mind, because in 5 months it was a national bestseller, at least on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and in some bookstores. And so that got me asked out to lecture. So I went out to Washington State to give my first lecture, and I was a little nervous because I was a little bit out of my element, but I was prepared and I had a good presentation, and I went out there, and it happens to be at the foot of Mount Adams, And the community out there, which we affectionately now call the ranch, or ESETI, is a place of cosmic connectedness, I'll put it that way. And after 2 days there, I was reintroduced to meditation, which I had done as a youth, but I had stopped doing because the style of meditation that I was taught as a youth just kind of took too long, was too impractical. But what I was introduced to there was very practical, and it put me in a deep state the second night, and I had this amazing experience, not unlike Elle in the movie Contact. I saw things and heard things and was reacquainted with a place that I knew in my imaginations when I was a young kid, like 9 years old. So literally within a couple of days, I underwent a spiritual and a physical transformation. It was really quite phenomenal. The spiritual transformation had nothing to do with religion. It had to do with remembering things and being connected with who I was and who I am. And the physical transformation was a confirmation of what was going on. This wasn't by design. This just happened as part of being connected again, I guess. I lost 40 pounds. I laid my glasses down for the last time, and my childhood asthma, which I had had since 5 years old and took medication for every day, went away.
That's
and
incredible.
I've not had it since.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, it was like maybe a reintroduction to a reawakening of what you once knew, and just the spark, the ignition reignited itself.
Well, the peace and the tranquility were, not overwhelming, but quite welcome. But also the ability to see and to know and to feel like I was standing on my 2 feet all the time instead of feeling off balance. You know how life kind of pushes us off balance with all of the things that seemingly come at us through no fault of our own.
Absolutely.
In reality, it is a chain of events which we set up either purposely or unconsciously. And what I realized was to be conscious, and to be conscious that you're conscious really puts you in amazing control of your mortal life.
It's cognitive consciousness. I would assume that's basically what you're trying to, at least this is how I'm getting it.
Yeah, it was, and I coined this in my book, Remembering the Future, the Physics of the Soul and Time Travel, which was the 4th book that I published, which is, the term is telementality. And in the book, I coin it to mean it is a connected mentality that goes beyond just this moment. In fact, the past and the future all become this moment.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I definitely am aware of what you're saying when I see you say that. It's like looking at every second of your life in an awakened state, but not in a dreamlike state, like most people go through this mundane cycle of repetitive, I don't really know, repetitive, stuck in the matrix, I guess, is like I would like to maybe present that. Stuck in the matrix where they think it's real, but in reality, when you wake up, it's not. And then you're conscious of every waking second of your life.
Yeah. Well, what I began to understand is that our energy presence, whether consciously or unconsciously, makes the universe around us, and even at a distance, vibrate. And it can vibrate at a very high, enlightening frequency, or it can vibrate at a very dark and almost melancholy frequency. And the choice is completely ours. And it affects everyone around us that will sympathetically resonate with that. And people with strong personalities can, play a little bit louder, so to speak, than people with not so strong personalities. But we all do affect the universe, either on purpose or unaware that we're affecting it. And so the science of it became fascinating to me, and I had to find out how that functions, so that we could become an input to the formula instead of an output to the formula.
Right. So we want, basically, because we've been vibrating on such a low frequency, and now we who have been awakened to this new reality are vibrating on a higher frequency. And Dr. Agnew, I find it very difficult for myself to operate on this lower vibrational frequency, which now mine has shifted to a higher frequency, because I can see it around me, the dullness, the blandness to what it used to be compared to where I am now.
Sure. And we recognize that in business too, whether we're doing human resource management or whether we're starting our own company. We know that there are certain people that we can put in a position that just their mere presence makes that position work. It makes the people around them happy that they're there at work. And they don't really have to do anything special in and of themselves. It's just the energy that they bring to the equation. And witnessing this formula over and over again, I realized that most of humanity does this wrong. We go through life chaotic. When we win the lottery, we're jumping up and down for joy, and when we have a flat tire, we're cursing God and, saying, why me? And I realized that we're doing, most of us, doing this all wrong. When we reach forward into the future to ring the bell of our dream, instead of letting it ring and then watching what resonates with the bell, we tend to hold on to the bell, thus dampening the sound that it's putting off. And we bang it, and we bang it, and we bang it, and nothing happens because it just thuds over and over and over again, and we won't release it. And when I realized how all this fits together, it fit into meditation, it fit into dreaming properly and with the right purpose, it fit into Fibonacci processes, which I can explain to you, and it creates and supports resonance theory. So when you put all these things together, it creates an engine of manifestation that works every single time. It cannot not work.
Okay. So what is the Fibonacci theory? Because I'm not very familiar with that.
Well, there was an Italian philosopher whose name was Leonardo da Piso, and his nickname was Fibonacci. And he discovered a sequence of numbering in that nature mimics. It starts out with 0 or source, and then you add 1 to that, so you get 0 plus 1 is 1. And then you take 1 and 1 and you get 2, and then 1 and 2 you get 3, and then 5, and then 8, and then 13. And you just keep adding the numbers sequentially, and what you've done is you've matched the growth curve of bacteria, of the human body, of pine cones and conch shells, and the periodic table, and the way planets line up around suns and their orbits. Everything seems to fit this increase because by the time you get out a few iterations away from 0, like say out 12 iterations from 0, you reach this slope. That is to say, a rise for a run, or a rate of increase. And that rate of increase is 1.618 to 1, which is called the golden mean, or the golden proportion. Once energy resonates with that ratio, it becomes constructively interfering. That is to say, it builds upon itself. It's creation. And what we see in chaos theory is occasionally, randomly almost, order seems to rise out of chaos. Now, it's in small amounts unless it's directed on purpose. We call that irreducible complexity. When you put a set piece of energy or intelligence into a system, that is a piece of irreducible complexity upon which the system builds. Like, for instance, DNA is irreducible complexity. You cannot derive DNA from chaos. You had to apply intelligence to come up with DNA. However, once you have the DNA, now you can create proteins, and you can create amino acids, and you can create life once you have the DNA. But the DNA is the first protein, and so therefore it must have been manifested through irreducible complexity being added to the system. Could not have happened randomly. Well, that happens in our lives as well. When we apply a conscious, organized thought, which I call a dream, you put a dream or a strong, clear, crystal clear desire out in the future, like, I want to be this, I want to do this. Forget about having stuff. That will come. But the being and the doing are proper dream energies that you can put out into the future. If it's clear enough and you thought it out well enough, down to the color, down to the shape, down to the purpose of what you want to do, like you want to be a teacher or you want to be an engineer, and you better be specific, because the finer you can tune that frequency of that dream, the more pure will be the resonations in the universe. And instead of focusing on the dream then, you're going to focus on the resonations. And you're going to add energy to the resonations. And those are going to build and manifest your dream in the future. It works.
So you're almost building the construct in your mind of what it is that you want to be, and you are creating a 3D matrix in your mind and then pursuing that in a physical manner. And I definitely understand and see that view, if that's the way you're describing it. And I'm just trying to get my head around this. But what you were saying about the dynamics of like you were explaining about the DNA, where it reaches a peak level of dynamics, and it has no further place to go. So it has to basically separate itself to create something new. And am I getting that right?
Yes, and it's going to create something new whether you put energy into it or not. However, if you purposefully put energy into it, then you can direct it. You can make it into what you want, for good or for ill. I got to tell you, it works both ways. What I discovered when I began, I was actually teaching a college algebra course, and this section on Fibonacci came up, and I had taught it in the past, and it's kind of academic. People learn it. Oh, yeah, 0, 1, 1, 3, 5, 8, 13, yes. Okay, let's go on to the next thing. I've passed the test. They never apply it again in their lives. And I had some adult students in my class, and I really wanted to do something fresh and show them how this sequence, this process of sequences really works in real life, why the golden mean is so important in creation and progressions. And I took two random numbers. I took 75 and 216 in the book. One's odd, one's even. They're not divisible into each other. There's no relationship between 75 and 216 at all. When I added them together, I get 291. Then I take 216 and add it to 291. You get 507, and then you progressively go forward. What I found is that when you get out 8 iterations, that is to say you've added these numbers together 8 times, guess what happens? You're right back on the golden mean, 1.618 to 1. And you can go out to infinity, and it will vary just in the 4th decimal place back and forth across that slope. It's almost perfect.
And Dr. Agnew, can we hold that thought for right there, because we're coming up on a break real quick, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino. You're listening to Dr. Brooks Agnew, physicist, engineer, and mathematicians. We will be right back right after this break. Stick with us, everyone.
want to know something? I love my job. People calling into Life Change Tea saying, I love the tea. I just love the tea. I love the way it makes me feel. Love is a powerful word. But for some of you, you can't love the tea if you never tried it. It is my job to encourage new people to try Life Change Tea. So what could I tell you? Love is a beautiful thing. I can tell you this, I personally drink Life Change Tea every day. I love it. Anyway, if you want to order your tea, call us. 928-308-0408. Again, 928-308-0408. Or you can read up on our many products and order online. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea, spreading a little love for health.
Regardless of the dollar price involved, 1 ounce of gold would purchase a good quality man's suit at the conclusion of the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the presidency of Franklin Roosevelt, and today. You may not be in the market for a new suit, but you don't know what the future may bring. And gold is the one financial constant the world has ever known. It can always provide you with your basic needs. Whether you're looking for junk silver, old silver dollar rolls, gold bullion, or fractional tradable gold pieces, Kettle Moraine is your full-service representative with over 50 years of knowledge and personal experience. Visit FlyingEagleGold.com or call us at 623-327-1778 today for competitive prices on all your gold or silver needs. If you're looking for real financial insurance, call Kettle Moraine today at 623-327-1778. That's Kettle Moraine, 623-327-1778.
Hello, fellow patriots. This is Big John Lipscomb, and this may or may not be news to you, but we are all as free as we could be. Freedom is a choice that must be renewed each and every day with sacrifice and effort. Otherwise, it will erode as government leans against our individual sovereignty. Get prepared and start growing your own healthy heirloom vegetable garden. I have a brand new all-in-one garden kit that includes everything you need to have an award-winning garden. 67 varieties of vegetables, all treated with, again, 67 trace minerals for ultimate growth and health. I have a soil test kit inside, a garden planner, a book teaching you how to save seeds, and even a video about gardening. You'll love it. It's the best out there, and you can find it at Survivalist Seeds.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
You're listening to The Micro Effect.
Back, everybody, to the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pino, and this evening we have the incredible, wonderful Dr. Brooks Agnew, PhD, physicist, engineer, and mathematician. Dr. Agnew, please take off where you left off from when we got cut off on the break.
Well, the idea behind this progression really blew me away, because I had no idea that you could take numbers and put them together in this fashion. I had met Maureen St. Germain some years before, and she is a master teacher of the Flower of Life meditation that I utilize and that I expose people to in the book. And I encourage people, to get a hold of her CD and master this meditation, because it really is a meditation for busy people. But she's the one that originally, told me about this idea that you could take two random numbers and put them together. And in teaching this math class, it just came to life for me, because it not only worked with whole numbers, the way she had described, but I tried putting irrational numbers in, imaginary numbers in it, decimals, fractions, and it worked every single time. So I knew that if it worked with values that were mathematical, that it would work with energy. And so I thought if this theory is correct, then I should be able to interview people who are remarkably successful in their particular areas. And I should be able to ask them how many tries it took them focusing on their dream before they became successful at it. So I talked to a professional golfer, a professional baseball player who went from the minor leagues to the major leagues, a real estate salesperson, and an investment banker. Without priming them at all, I asked them, how many tries did it take you before you were in the zone, before you knew that you could be successful, that everything you did was successful relative to your dream? And Robert, the answer was 8. That was so cool. That was a vindication that what I had discovered in the math and how it affected chaos theory, resonance theory, using this Fibonacci process, which in the book I call it the Phoenix process, because you're really making order out of chaos. You're really rising success out of the ashes of your life.
So is order chaos, or is it, I mean, okay, this is what I'm trying to, as I'm listening to you, I'm trying to comprehend and let it all soak in. So from order comes chaos, and from chaos comes order. So it's almost like the yin and yang, the duality that separates that fine line of duality?
Yes, it's very similar to that. There is one constant in the universe, and that is actually the second and third laws of thermodynamics, which is entropy. That is to say, everything tends from higher order to lower order. Everything rots. Everything rests. Everything falls apart if it's left to itself. But if you apply energy, and that energy can be the force of your dream and your conviction, your intention behind it, the purity of your intention behind it, you create order out of the set of energy in the universe that we call chaos. Now, many scientists look out into the galaxies now, and we're convinced that there's far more matter to the universe than what we can see with our telescopes and our eyes, with our instruments. In fact, all the visible matter in the universe only makes up about 5% of the actual matter in the universe. The rest of it we cannot see, but we can see the effects from it. Now, somehow we coined it as dark matter, dark energy. In reality, it could be super bright matter, super bright energy, and we're just too dull to see it. So That's what I'm talking about here. Maybe dark matter and dark energy is the subconscious of the universe. And what we see as light and planets and stars and galaxies and clusters and superclusters is actually the conscious mind of the universe.
Wow. That's a lot to take in right there, just thinking about that. Because, I'm looking at it, if everything is a duality, okay, you have light, dark, you have black, white, you have wrong, you have right. And then there's all that gray matter in between. Do most people live in that gray matter in between, never seeing it clearly, the dark and the light, and how to make that cohesion, to bring it together?
Sure. What I found when I test people, or when I try to lead them through this process, in that in their lives, in fact, in all of their lives, they usually quit after about 3 or 4 iterations. And it's almost universal. Occasionally, very occasionally, I meet someone who naturally can go 8 iterations into this. But they're few and far between. Most of the other people have to be trained how to do it. Once they're trained how to do it, it is amazing to watch what they can do. They take complete and total control of their life condition. They no longer hand their sovereignty to another being, not their boss, not their spouse, not their teacher, not their sibling, not their government. They take control of their sovereignty and of their lives. And it is an amazing thing to watch.
Well, Dr. Agnew, I mean, I kind of think I've done this in my life to a certain degree. In my music, I've been a musician for many, many years, and I tried to attack it from all ends of what I wanted. There was something specific that I wanted to, being a musician, yes, when you're young, you're looking for the stardom and all the superficiality that goes with it, but also at that time, I was only looking to make really good music, but the group of people that I had actually run into detached themselves from what I want, and not detached. I mean, I basically detached from them because they didn't have the same idealism and structure that I wanted to go forward with. So, I've had so many different opportunities in my life, and it's led me to, broadcasting in radio, which is absolutely phenomenal for me. I can't tell you how enlightening, embracing, cognitive, uplifting. There's so many words to describe how it feels to do this show. And yet, yes, there are the ups and downs. That's with anything that you do in life. But it's the overall view of what I have gone after, because I've gone after to make it work in my life. Because I've always said it's great to have an idea, but if you don't pursue it, that's all it ever will be, is an idea.
Well, that's exactly right. You've got to put your intention out there. You can't sit on the porch and pray to win the lottery without buying a ticket. You
Right.
have to get out there and buy a ticket. Now, where people make the mistake, and this is maybe a script that's left over from, previous lives or previous tries at this, but we tend to build mirrors where we only go so far and then it falls apart. Women are attracted to the same kinds of men over and over and over again. Men, form a small business and they get it always to a certain point and then it falls apart. We build these scripts or these blocks where our dynamism, our life energy cannot flow through it to full success. And sometimes it takes professional help, like a clearing practitioner, to get through that block, to understand where you're coming to that same fork in the path, and you're taking the same fork every time, and you need to take the other one to get out of the maze, or as you call it earlier in the program, the matrix. Once you break out of that, then, and let me be a little bit more practical with that, because that sounds very metaphysical.
Sure.
Let me give you one example that I know about. There was a woman who was coming in for counseling, and she wasn't particularly depressed. She just didn't feel fulfilled in her life. She was a widow. She didn't have to worry about money so much, but she just, was in her early 50s, and she just needed purpose in her life. She needed something that she could really, feel fulfilled with. And she'd been coming in for about 6 months to this counselor and wasn't getting anywhere. I mean, there wasn't anything particularly negative about her life. She just didn't feel like she was doing much more than growing older each day. And one day she came in and she had a magazine with her. She went through her session and then she went to leave, picked up her magazine, and the counselor said, "What's that magazine you have there?" She said, "Oh, it's about gorillas." And the counselor said, "Gorillas? What do you mean gorillas?" She said, "Yeah, I really like gorillas. I buy, all the magazines on them. I read about them. I'm really fascinated by them. I don't know what it is, but I'm just really fascinated by gorillas." And the woman said, "Come back in here and sit down." She picked up the phone and called the zoo and said, "Do you have gorillas at your zoo?" And they said, "Yes, we do." And she said, "Do you ever need any volunteers to come in and help with the gorillas?" And they said, "As a matter of fact, 2 of our female gorillas have given birth to baby gorillas, and we have no mother gorillas here, so they don't know how to take care of these babies, and we need volunteers to come in and help nurture these baby gorillas, help these female gorillas learn how to take care of their young." She said, "I'm sending someone down." So she sent this woman down there, and the rest is gorilla husbandry history. This woman became ignited. She not only volunteered so well to be in animal husbandry, to be a volunteer, but the zoo hired her. And then she began consulting for other zoos. And she became one of the premier gorilla husbandry experts just from her desire to follow that. And that's what I'm talking about. I know another friend of mine, I asked him, his name is Kevin, I said, "Kevin, what's your dream?" He said, "I want $1 million. I said, "You do? Well, that's interesting. Why do you want $1 million?" And he proceeded to tell me the 3 things that he wanted to accomplish with his $1 million. I said, "Well, Kevin, you got this all wrong. You're concentrating on the wrong thing. You're drawing what I call a future thread through the universe to your goal. You're telling the universe that the way to your goal is with $1 million. And it's not resonating, Kevin. There's another path to what you want to get to, and it isn't $1 million. So stop thinking about the $1 million and start concentrating on the 3 things you want to accomplish." And sure enough, a year later, he accomplished those 3 things. He still does not have his $1 million.
But he accomplished what he set out to do.
Yes, he did.
That's incredible. Hey, Kevin, if you're listening, that's fantastic. And keep going forward.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
once you accomplish one dream, then you can move on to the next and the next, because you know how the system works now. And the universe cannot refuse you, because if you are a musician, if you place an acoustic guitar out of its case against the wall in your living room with the strings facing out into the room, and then you put on your kind of music and you turn the volume up, what does that guitar do?
It resonates.
Yes. Every once in a while you'll hear a string ring out of that guitar like somebody reached over and picked it with a pick.
It's absolutely correct, Dr. Agnew, because I've done that many times where I'll be playing, common musician terms, a riff. I'll play a scale or something, and I'll hit a particular note which just resonates and rings through my body like a vibrational orgasm, I guess I could call it.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible, enlightening. It's hard to explain, except, I guess that's the way it makes me feel. Let me see
if I can explain it in the scientific terms. We call this spectroscopy. Actually, what happened is the guitar absorbed frequency at a specific wavelength out of the room because its strings were tightened to certain lengths and certain tightness and certain gauge. It took an exact frequency for that string to vibrate. But when it did, it actually absorbed energy out of the room. And if you could measure it, and we've got instruments that can do this called spectrometers, if you could measure it, we call that an absorbance frequency or an absorbance point. When your body absorbs the frequency of the chord that you've hit or the sequence of notes that you've hit, you're actually absorbing energy from what you have created. And the result is a very pleasing, very euphoric feeling in your body. That's what the universe does. It does the same thing, like a gazillion bells around you, like a gazillion guitar strings. Everything around you vibrates with the energy of your presence. And it has no choice but doing so. It has to absorb your energy. And when it does, it resonates back out to something else. You have to listen for that something else. And you've got to put energy back on that over and over and over again and build it to a resonance to where even a tiny hammer the size of a mustard seed becomes a steamroller.
Wow, that just resonated or rung a bell in my head, what you just said, because I've gone through those, and I'm not just talking about from an aspect of a musician, but I've gone through that in my life, where there be a certain vibrational frequency that I meet up with another human being who will vibrate a certain frequency, and it'll shudder through my body like I've been hit with just an incredible light. Or it's very hard to explain the word. You can use vibration, frequency, resonance, but that's what it feels like. It's an overwhelming feeling of love and joy and thrill and excitement. And
this is really one of the big reasons why people go to church. Because at church, they play music. And you know the key that this music is written in. Most of the time it's C or F sharp or something. It's one of those chord progressions that when the music is played, whether it's on the organ or piano or just human voices, the feeling that we get from it is this overwhelming resonance of love and peace and forgiveness, of mercy and charity. That is one of the great things that churches do, is they bathe people in this resonance. And it's a great place to meet. It's a great place to fellowship and to pull that love together. It is unfortunate that over the centuries, over the millennia, that churches have become a more economic practice, and it's become more entertainment than it has become enlightenment, and thus the separation from religiosity and spirituality.
Yeah, it's a big separation. You're 100% right. There's no question about that, and that's been for several millennia, I'm sure, up until now. But I got to tell you, I hope you don't mind me calling you Brooks.
No problem.
It's inbred with me that it's always because, the way I was brought up, it's Mr. or Mrs. But I feel such a closeness to you that I've talked to you several occasions. I feel a kinship to you, and just you talking to me and hearing your voice, your vibration of your voice, my whole body right now, I feel enlightened. Everything is heightened right now. That's how I feel. It's an incredible feeling. I got to tell you, it really is. When you talk with people who resonate on a certain level, it's like two magnets attracting each other. It's an incredible feeling.
Wow, I really appreciate that. That's a powerful analogy, and it means a lot to me. Thank you.
Well, and that's just exactly how I feel that as this conversation is taking place, I feel I've been lifted up and resonating on a higher frequency, because on a daily basis, Brooks, when I'm doing my thing, in my daily life, everything, like I said earlier, everything vibrates on such a low frequency that when I am in contact with light minds, my vibrational frequency lifts up. I feel energized, and it's an incredible feeling. It really is. I feel like I just ran a marathon, and I'm wide awake. It's an incredible thing. It really
wow.
is. I got to tell you, it's absolutely fabulous. But anyway, we're going to be coming up on a break here in a couple of minutes. But I want to touch on the other side of things, especially
Sure.
The expanding Earth, hollow Earth, because that's been a big fascination with me for a long time. And, like I said, we have talked earlier on a personal level, and I've said, well, look, all these things are starting to happen. And, of course, nobody really knows what's going to happen 2012, 2011. It could be 2013. It could be whatever. But definitely there are some major earth changes taking place. I've talked with you about the sinkholes that have taken place on an equatorial plane around our planet, the land fissures that have been opening up. So this is factual. It is actually happening. My belief, and it's just my belief. You're a scientist, it's a physicist, so you're going to go from your numbers and your background for this expansion that's taking place. But everybody's been talking about this going through the equatorial plane of our galactic center, which is all these energies rushing out from the center of our black hole to bring all these excited energies. And now, of course, our sun is ramped up, and it's been, I don't know if you've been following this, Brooks, but our sun has been peppered within the last week with sunspots, X-class flares. 2 or 3 days ago, I think some were released, or one at least, sunspot 1302 released an X-class flare. I don't know if it came directly towards us, but I know it was released. So there's a lot of things going on. Of course, I want to talk about Elenin, which we touched on briefly when we had a small phone conversation. And I have a lot to say about that because there's a lot of nonsense behind that. And I know you know that too. So, I mean, as far as Earth changes, in my view of what's happening, they look and feel very real. I mean, in the last 5 years, I've been following the USGS, actually a little further than that, USGS, but the last 5 years. But the increase in earthquakes has been about 30%. But everybody, listen, stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino. We're talking with Dr. Brooks Agnew, an incredible man, physicist, engineer, mathematician, and an enlightened human being who understands the higher essence and the subconscious and the soul conscious mind. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
You want to know something? I love my job. People calling into Life Change Tea saying, I love the tea. I just love the tea. I love the way it makes me feel. Love is a powerful word. But for some of you, you can't love the tea if you never tried it. It is my job to encourage new people to try Life Change Tea. So what could I tell you? Love is a beautiful thing. I can tell you this, I personally drink Life Change Tea every day. I love it. Anyway, if you want to order your tea, call us. 928-308-0408. Again, 928-308-0408. Or you can read up on our many products and order online. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea, spreading a little love for health.
Regardless of the dollar price involved, 1 ounce of gold would purchase a good quality man's suit at the conclusion of the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the presidency of Franklin Roosevelt, and today. You may not be in the market for a new suit, but you don't know what the future may bring. And gold is the one financial constant the world has ever known. It can always provide you with your basic needs. Whether you're looking for junk silver, old silver dollar rolls, gold bullion, or fractional tradable gold pieces, Kettle Moraine is your full-service representative with over 50 years of knowledge and personal experience. Visit FlyingEagleGold.com or call us at 623-327-1778 today for competitive prices on all your gold or silver needs. If you're looking for real financial insurance, call Kettle Moraine today at 623-327-1778. That's Kettle Moraine, 623-327-1778.
Hello, fellow patriots. This is Big John Lipscomb, and this may or may not be news to you, but we aren't all as free as we could be. Freedom is a choice that must be renewed each and every day with sacrifice and effort. Otherwise, it will erode as government leans against our individual sovereignty. Get prepared and start growing your own healthy heirloom vegetable garden. I have a brand new all-in-one garden kit that includes everything you need to have an award-winning garden. 67 varieties of vegetables, all treated with, again, 67 trace minerals for ultimate growth and health. I have a soil test kit inside, a garden planner, a book teaching you how to save seeds, and even a video about gardening. You'll love it. It's the best out there, and you can find it at survivalistseeds.com.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
You're listening to The Micro Effect.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino, and we're talking with the fabulous Dr. Brooks Agnew, physicist, engineer, mathematician. We've been talking about the esoteric things, about spirituality, enlightenment, the subconscious mind, the soul conscious experience that we're living here on this planet. But for anybody who wants to call into the show, I forgot to mention this earlier, and I apologize. The number is 1-888-747-1968. I encourage you to call in, ask Dr. Agnew any question you like. This man is an incredible genius. I believe you got your PhD at 17, or excuse me, was it your PhD at 17 years old, Dr. Agnew?
No, actually, I got it late in life. I stopped between just before getting my bachelor's degree for 10 years and raised kids. And I went back to college as a man on a mission with 4 small kids at home. I paid off all my debts in the 10 years of working, and I saved up enough money and got a government loan, which I paid on for another 10 or 12 years after I got out. But I actually graduated college the first time at age 38. So it is never too late to go after your life's dream. But I finally got my act together, and I knocked out 2 bachelor's degrees, the master's and the PhD, between then and the year 2001. So since then, it's just, I've been virtually unemployable. But I'm kidding. You should stay in school. Get as much education as you can.
You're absolutely right, but what about all these kids who have gotten their education now and there is no employment, and Occupy Wall Street has really taken a grip now, and it looks like it's growing and growing?
Well, to be truthful, for those without a college degree, the unemployment rate is about 17%. Those with a college degree, it's 4%. Now, I'm not saying that they're working at where they need their college degree. I see a lot of engineers and I see a lot of architects that are waiting tables, but they're working because that drive to complete something carries over into the rest of your life. And they will eventually, find their place. I can tell you, and I study this from a economic science point of view, because I tell you that the algorithms in economics just fascinate me. I'm constantly crunching those numbers and trying to figure what the mathematical triggers are to make it work. And I think I've got it figured out. But I got to tell you, whoever's in charge out there, they're doing it wrong.
Well, I agree with you. Hey, Dr. Agnew, we have a caller online.
Hey, all right.
Ed G., you're online. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, hi. How you doing, Brooks? Ed Grimsley here.
Good, Ed.
Ed Grimsley. Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I'm glad I don't have to go to work every day. I just heard that part about the unemployment. So,
well, it could be a blessing to take a sabbatical for 6 months or a year, even if you're living, with very, very low maintenance. You reach a point in your life when having things is not the focus of your life. It's quite a relief to lower your lower your maintenance.
And the cost of everything is going so sky high.
No doubt.
Well, gentlemen, I don't know, Dr. Agnew, Brooks, Ed, I don't know if either of you know this, but I just recently lost my house because of these economic debacle. And Brooks, we've talked about this, and I know it's a very touchy subject for a lot of people, but what these sociopaths have created is nothing other than a complete destruction of our monetary system. Now, I try and stay upbeat and as positive as I can I'm going to project love to them from now on, because all I have been projecting is negativity, and that creates more darkness. So I'm going to project more love towards these people who have destroyed my life and the lives of many, many, many other people. So, the only thing I can do is move forward and push my agenda forward for happiness and some sort of love and some sort of decent life to live on this planet while we're here, until, of course, we reincarnate once again to learn another lesson. But here I am as you and Ed, and we have to make the best of the situation that's at hand.
Well, I understand where you're coming from. I don't know if I agree that losing one's house is having your life ruined.
I'm just saying that it's losing one house is not having one's life ruined. I'm looking at the overall picture because I am one of many.
Yeah,
so
you're in very good
it's just
company.
part of the symptom of the situation.
Yeah, you're in very good company. I mean, the thing about the financial institutions is that the core of their value was in single-family homes, first mortgages on single-family homes. And I have to think that they knew what they were doing when they dumped millions of homes on the market at a dime on the dollar. They knew the value of homes would drop. And they knew in doing so, the very collateral that people used to back their American dream would be worthless. And it would be a spiral from which homeownership probably couldn't recover. But that being said, it's like a big equity reset. There are a lot of people out there that are buying houses out of foreclosure that they could never afford before.
You're absolutely right. You're 100% right. But what I wanted to get into this hour, because we're at the top of the hour, I'm sorry, I hope I didn't cut anybody off there. Dr. Agnew, I wanted to talk about expanding, as I left off in the second hour, I wanted to talk about expanding Earth and hollow Earth, because this is a very important subject, I think, for a lot of people right now. A lot of people don't know what's going on. They don't understand what's going on. They know that changes are taking place on the planet. What is your perspective on what's happening right now?
Well, that's a good question. Ed, did we leave you out, or did you have a question before I get into this?
Just real quick, I was going to put in there that the government is basically devalued the land and the values and taken a lot of things away from people, but yet the government taxes the taxes are as high as they ever were to adjust any of it, and they're charging 18% interest and 10% penalties on that interest. And so it makes it pretty easy for them to take your home by taxes.
Well, that's true, but as I said, the algorithms are fascinating. Do I have a complete handle on it? No. I kind of take exception to the term "the government" because I think, from my direct observation, we don't really have a government. We have a loose coalition of bureaucracies that we've lost control of. They're unelected, they're unaccountable, and by and large, the American people, in fact, the world, has no idea what they do. So until we get control of that, I think we're just not going to have control of it.
Well, we all have to get a source that we can stand up together that will recognize us and understand what we're trying to get accomplished. And until we get a source that we can go to and up together, we're never going to get heard.
Well, Ed, we live in a republic, and there's only 535 of those guys up there, and women. And if we can't find 535 good people in our country, there's probably no hope for us.
Well, things are looking dark, huh?
Hey, we get to choose every 2 years. We can fix it.
Dr. Agnew, before we get into the next subject, I just wanted to add this, that you say we get to choose, but do we really get to choose? Because the influences, the powers that be, these illuminists, whatever you choose to call them, when they are paying voters $1,000 to, low-income and sub-income levels to go and vote for a particular candidate, that really doesn't give us a voting choice.
Oh, it does. It skews the formula, but hey, people have been buying votes since Roman times. We have to overcome that with numbers.
And I agree with you. On that aspect, I totally agree with you. You know what, Dr. Agnew, I was just going to bring this up because I'm glad you called. Because starting in November, Ed and I, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off. Ed and I are going to start a Friday night roundtable starting mid-November, and you're more than welcome to be part of our roundtable anytime you choose, Dr. Agnew.
I love those. I think those are great.
Yeah, so do I. I thought it was a fascinating idea. Actually, Ed brought it up to me, and I thought, wow, what a great idea to have roundtables, because I truly love those discussions. It's an open forum, so everybody can speak their mind, and maybe there can be some resolution through ideas.
I absolutely agree with that. And I've met a lot of congressmen who really are honest. They're good. They're listening to their constituency. They're bringing those things to Washington, and they're talking about them. But there's a very secure handful in Washington that have legacies, and it's going to be difficult to pry them out of those rocks, but it can be done.
Well, I agree with you on that statement
as
well.
It can be done, but most of the people in our society don't know how to go about it. They don't have the experience. They have a program where they want you to vote for this, vote for that, and a lot of times they're giving conceiving or misconceived information, and sometimes it's often a yes vote actually means no, and a no means yes.
That's true. But that's why we have great radio programs like Robert Pepino, because that voice of reason and awakening is going out there all over the world right now.
You're so kind, Dr. Agnew. So very, very kind. But
did you pay him, Rob? Did you buy his vote?
Well, I want to jump into the Expanding Earth, Hollow Earth. I really do, because we only have about 45 minutes. I know this takes up so much time.
Go for it.
All right, and you're more than welcome to stay on with us, Ed, so please stay on the line. If any questions you want to ask, please interject.
Dr. Agnew, please take it away. I have the hollow head effect.
All right, we want to talk about comparing hollow Earth theory to the current theory. And a lot of people don't really know what the current theory is. I mean, they learned a little bit of geology when they were in high school, or they've seen the History Channel a few times, or Science Channel, and maybe they have a vague idea. But here's the gist of the way accepted affiliate science believes the Earth is made. They believe that we live on a molten ball of rock floating through space, and we float around on the surface of it on continents, which we call tectonic plates, like cornflakes floating in a bowl of milk. They believe that this molten rock is actually moving around inside of our planet, and that's what's generating our magnetosphere, and that's that. However, hollow Earth theory believes, or at least has the evidence to point toward, the idea that this planet is actually a hollow sphere with a solid core in the center of this ball, and that they're counter-rotating against each other, and that's what makes the magnetic field which we have around our planet. Some planets have it, some planets don't. Earth does. So let's look at the evidence of what we have. Let's just go out into space for a little bit in our mind's eye and look back at the Earth and think of it as a rotating globe in space. Now, it doesn't take much more than a fourth grader to see that all the continents look like they once fit together, like puzzle pieces. And for a long time, there was an idea which we called Pangea, or Gondwana land, that all the continents were together on one side of the planet in a group, and that slowly they broke apart and floated around the planet to the position that they are now. However, that same fourth grader is going to observe that and say, now wait a minute, actually both sides of those continents fit together. So they can't all be together on one side of the planet. What about the other side of the planet? Truth is, guys, the model doesn't work unless you shrink the planet, the diameter of the planet, to 1/3 its present size. Then what you get is all the continents do fit together on all sides. And any fourth grader will tell you, yep, that's the puzzle. That's how it fits together. Well, if that's true, then there should be a big age difference between the continents and the seafloor. And there should be layers of fossilized sea life in the mountains, in the high points of the planet. Guess what? We find both things exactly fit that model. There are layers of fossilized sea life in the highest mountains on the planet. The Rockies, the Appalachians, the Andes, the Himalayas. There are these layers of ancient sea life. We examine the age of the continents upon which we live, and we find it's about 4.5 billion years old. Well, that fits the model. That fits fine. But when we do core samples of the ocean floors, we find the oldest one we've sampled is only 70 million years old. The ocean floor is young, and the continents are old, which means Earth has been expanding for about 70 to 80 million years. And the oceans receded off the land down into the seabed, and dry land came forth out of it.
Well, that's an incredible thing. You know, Brooks, my question is always this: where did the water derive from if we had a landmass that was, 2/3 smaller at the time, about 65, 70 million years ago? This is my question, because, okay, if we have, and I just try and follow me here in my way of thinking, as diluted it may be, Brooks, but, okay, if we have these energetic particles going into our planets, which now we understand that have been heating up for the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and they're reaching a boiling point, does that mean that maybe these energetic particles going into the core of our planet, okay, as they become a single atom of helium, from helium to oxygen, from oxygen to hydrogen, hydrogen, and so on and so forth, creating new molecules. Would that maybe account for how water was created on this planet and maybe other planets? And that's just my thought process. I'm using a very simplistic idea here.
Well, we can look at it this a couple of ways. Let's just go back to Genesis, and let's just read what it says, if I can remember this correctly. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the deep and divided the waters from the waters and brought forth the firmament. I believe that's what it says in Genesis. So basically what we had here is we had a water planet that was completely covered in ocean. And as the planet began to expand, the waters divided by the firmament, earth, and dry land appeared. Now, water is a very plentiful molecule in the universe because oxygen and hydrogen are very plentiful in the universe. Most of the elements, higher order elements heavier than iron, are created by supernova events. Very, very high energetic events that happen in space that create higher order elements. Well, how does that happen? That's a really good question. And most people miss this. Hydrogen by itself is a single proton. Most people don't know that that is the heaviest proton in the system of elements. Atomic number 1. Charge 1 electron volt. And when you join two hydrogen atoms, or these two protons together, into helium, atomic number 2, you've now moved down the periodic chart 1 number. Each of those protons has to lose a little bit of mass. In other words, a helium proton is lighter than a hydrogen proton. And the loss of weight times the speed of light is released as energy. That's what we call fusion. That's what we see happening in our sun. That's what we do in our bombs, is we combine, we force together two hydrogen protons to become helium. In doing so, it releases huge amounts of pure energy. But the helium proton looks just like the hydrogen proton. And it looks just like the lithium proton, which looks just like the iron proton, except they are progressively lighter and lighter and lighter until we get to iron, and then it very slowly begins to increase in size as we get to the higher order elements. That is a remarkable observation, because chemically, the protons work reliably over and over and over again on any planet, any star we look at, which tells us that a proton is actually a hologram of frequencies. The more dense the frequencies get, you reach hydrogen. The less dense, it's still a proton. It's still 100% a proton, but it has a little less information in it as we get down to iron. And we're discovering at CERN, as we take these hydrogen protons, we strip the electrons off of the hydrogen, and then we accelerate these protons to 99.99% the speed of light by pouring energy into them and accelerating them faster and faster and faster until they're not any longer 1 electron volt. They're more like 500 tera electron volts. They've become massive with energy. And then we put them on a figure-8 course and we slam these packets of protons into one another until two of them collide head-on, and when they do, they burst into a whole bunch of frequencies, which we have all kinds of colors and flavors for. Some of them only exist for a femtosecond, which is 1 times 10 to the minus 12 seconds, and some of them hang around a little bit longer than that. But here's the thing. We're like 8-year-olds with a mechanical robot that we have picked up over our heads and smashed on the kitchen floor to see how it works. You really want to impress me, Robert? Make 1 proton for me. Make 1. Yeah. Gather those frequencies together and make 1 proton for me. And this is where physicists are at a loss. Because what we have discovered, and I know you're going to find this is really strange and metaphysical, but mainstream physicists are agreeing on this. Consciousness is involved in the creation of matter from energy. We don't know how yet, but we know that it's involved.
Wow. Wow. The metaphysical and scientific aspects of that are just mind-blowing to me in and of itself, because that would bring spirituality and science as one at that point. That's an incredible thing. Incredible statement.
I'll wager that the Phoenix sequence is involved in making that proton.
Yes. Also means that consciousness, more power and more energy than anyone can imagine.
As an individual, there are in every age a handful of souls that really understand this and can make it work. We've seen them. And if they get a chance to show up in history, like Leonardo da Vinci, like Einstein, these geniuses that understand
Brooks, you still there?
What happened?
Right.
That's
sorry,
okay.
My Bluetooth dropped out. I'm good.
Okay.
These geniuses tried to put it together in the form of art, in the form of physics, in the form of music. Beethoven, others, they understood how these things go together. There are most of these that never get a chance to shine out in society. Something happens, some disconnect, some ADD kicks in or something, and they never really quite put it together. However, now we have 7 billion consciousnesses alive on the earth at one time. That's never happened before. Add to this the fact that now we have a neural network, call it the internet or the web, which has tied all these consciousnesses together in as much as it's possible. And we're now pulsating one mind, with one thought, with one idea. And we can now focus moment by moment on things, not by ones or 12s or hundreds, but by millions and billions. If we could focus our intention on one thing that we want to change in the universe, one thing of order, can you imagine the creative force that we have as a consciousness?
That's an incredible thought in and of its own. But so many people, as individuals, have so many individual thoughts. For so many people who are still playing with matches, and you know, meaning that the kids need to grow up. How is that focus of consciousness supposed to take place? This is what I'm trying to think about right now as you made that statement.
Well, it has to do with maybe, not collective consciousness. Let's call it a universal dream. We have, as a race, kind of lost our way. We have been led down various paths, and maybe we've been led down these paths by very ancient intelligences who were trying to make the human race into something it wasn't designed to be. Because inside this biological transducer, which we call the human body, which we interpret our universe and act upon it, is a soul that is a leaping, flying gazelle of a being that's eternal. And we're having a mortal experience. And once we figure out the power that we have, it's almost impossible. Well, I would say not. It is possible, but it is almost impossible that we would abdicate our sovereignty to those that are trying to design us into, let's just call it a slave race, in the slavery of debt, the slavery of working another man's purpose. If we have a universal dream and we work toward it, no force in the universe, no God or host of gods could get in the way of it. It isn't
Wow.
possible.
Wow, that is an incredible thought. I mean, it really is. Brooks, we're coming up on a break. Ed, we're coming up on a break right now. Everybody stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I have Dr. Brooks Agnu, physicist, scientist, mathematician, and Ed Grimsley on the line. Everybody stick with us. We'll be right back after the break to the last half hour of the show. We'll be right back.
You want to know something? I love my job. People calling into Life Change Tea saying, I love the tea. I just love the tea. I love the way it makes me feel. Love is a powerful word. But for some of you, you can't love the tea if you never tried it. It is my job to encourage new people to try Life Change Tea. So what could I tell you? Love is a beautiful thing. I can tell you this, I personally drink Life Change Tea every day. I love it. Anyway, if you want to order your tea, call us. 928-308-0408. Again, 928-308-0408. Or you can read up on our many products and order online. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea, spreading a little love for health.
Let's go outside.
Regardless of the dollar price involved, 1 ounce of gold would purchase a good quality man's suit at the conclusion of the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the presidency of Franklin Roosevelt, and today. You may not be in the market for a new suit, but you don't know what the future may bring. And gold is the one financial constant the world has ever known. It can always provide you with your basic needs. Whether you're looking for junk silver, old silver dollar rolls, gold bullion, or fractional tradable gold pieces, Kettle Moraine is your full-service representative with over 50 years of knowledge and personal experience. Visit FlyingEagleGold.com or call us at 623-327-1778 today for competitive prices on all your gold or silver needs. If you're looking for real financial insurance, call Kettle Moraine today at 623-327-1778. That's Kettle Moraine, 623-327-1778.
Hello, fellow patriots. This is Big John Lipscomb, and this may or may not be news to you, but we aren't all as free as we could be. Freedom is a choice that must be renewed each and every day with sacrifice and effort. Otherwise, it will erode as government leans against our individual sovereignty. Get prepared and start growing your own healthy heirloom vegetable garden. I have a brand new all-in-one garden kit that includes everything you need to have an award-winning garden. 67 varieties of vegetables, all treated with, again, 67 trace minerals for ultimate growth and health. I have a soil test kit inside, a garden planner, a book teaching you how to save seeds, and even a video about gardening. You'll love it. It's the best out there, and you can find it at survivalistseeds.com.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
You're listening to The Micro Effect.
Gentlemen, to the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pino, and we've been talking with Dr. Brooks Agnew, PhD physicist, engineer, mathematician, and we also have Ed Grimsley on the line with us, of course, from UFO Wars, an incredible man all of his own who has been on this program several times. And actually, we were discussing this earlier before the break that we're going to be starting a round table starting in November, and Dr. Agnew has so graciously volunteered some of his time, and thank you, Dr. Agnew, for being on this program. And I really do look forward to doing a roundtable with you and Ed and more guests. It's going to be an incredible venue. The enlightenment that I receive from people like yourselves is really quite incredible for me. I learn more and more every day. I read more every day. Do you realize I don't watch TV anymore? I've turned it off. I have not watched literally TV in over a month. I gather no value from it, no information that I choose to retain from that worthless box, and my mind becomes more and more enlightened every day, and it is due to people like yourselves. And I want to thank you all for that, because my spiritual awakening is growing by leaps and bounds every day.
Well, I appreciate that. I know it was said today that people that listen to talk radio are more intelligent than watch TV. And I think it goes back to the days when, people used to huddle around the radio, listen to adventure radio, whether it was The Shadow or comedy shows or whatever. And when TV came along, it kind of took the imagination part away from us. It supplied it to us. In fact, we even supplied the laughter for us. And I'm like you, Robert. I found that I got to turn the resonation machine off. Every 30 minutes we get recycled news over and over and over again, and it just makes this. They take advantage of the resonation theory, and they put negativity out there. And as I said at the beginning of the program, for good or for ill, this process works.
And you're absolutely right. You're 100% right, Dr. Agnew. I mean, for me, I've been on such a high of learning that I'm getting so many different aspects from so many people. But what I'm really understanding is that everybody brings in a piece of the puzzle of their understanding. And I guess that's one of the reasons I call my show The Whole Agenda. Whether it's, the outside picture of it, of course, the banking, cartel, or the pharmaceutical industry of it, or the codex, food manipulation, or whether it's the spiritual side of it, I think everyone who has put so much work and effort into bringing what they have studied for years and years and years to the forefront and bringing it forward to people who have never heard of anything like this is really, it is such an incredible thing. And it is because, like you said earlier, because of the internet, it is the tool that we have that enables this for it to happen, because like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. And obviously for ourselves, and many people listening to the show and shows like yourself, Dr. Agnew, that people are gaining a greater awareness of their surroundings and their subconscious mind, their subconscious spirit mind.
Well, that's true. And go ahead, Ed. You got a point to add?
I just wanted to go in here. The consciousness that we're getting is growing and growing, but yet there are so many that are throwing all this negativity out there, and if we continue to get a lot of negative consciousness or energy, then that alone could make us fail, because we need to keep the conscious level up, going in the direction we want to, and not that the earth is going to end in 2012, or that Obama is going to drop a bomb, or this. Because if you think of it long enough, hard enough, it's like prayer. If enough people are thinking it, it might happen.
Well, that's very true. And, true to this, and I've done a lot of research on 2012. I wrote 2,000 pages on it with my co-author, E.J. Clark. None of the ancient civilizations said the world was going to end in 2012. They said it was going to separate 12. That there would be such a profound difference between light and darkness, between higher vibrational matter and spirit and lower vibrational matter, which we call temporal matter or lower vibrational spirit, that the two will become separated. So they cannot possibly make us fail. In fact, they have no resonation with our success whatsoever. They will begin resonating with a different world than our world. They will have no control over our world, and we will have no control over theirs. That's what the Mayans predicted would happen. That's what the great King Pakal predicted when he wrote this glyph, series of glyphs in his tomb lid that was discovered in 1958, and the great Jose Arguelles studied it and first introduced us to the idea that the Mayan calendar reset in 2012. Many people do not realize that calendar, the only calendar on the earth that's not based on religion. It's based on mathematics.
And that's incredible of its own, because how were the Mayans able to come up with these mathematical equations and calculations which supersede our own mathematics and calculations right now? It's really an incredible thing.
Well, the answer is they were taught it. And if you go to the Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City, you can see teachers, the likenesses of the teachers that came here and taught them that. They called them the Shining Ones. And they taught them all kinds of things, architecture, engineering, space travel, and taught them how to use the Soul King wheel, go back way, way back, hundreds of thousands of years, to teach people how to tell time and predict cycles, even in multiple dimensions.
Yeah. So we're saying that the ancient technologies that the Mayans were taught came from our terrestrial or extraterrestrial brothers and sisters.
That's
now,
correct.
For me, I believe that 100%. Not ever seeing an alien, but I have seen things of extraterrestrial nature, but I've never, shook hands with one of my extraterrestrial brothers and sisters and says, "Thank you for coming to this planet. I feel sorry for you. I hope you've enjoyed your visit." But, I wholeheartedly believe this because simply, if I look at the Mayans and then I look at the Egyptians, not the Egyptians, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to step back from that. The pyramids themselves are much, much older than what has been claimed for the pyramids to be, and I think the Egyptian culture simply adapted that heritage of the pyramid or the technology of the pyramids. But I think they're much, much older than they actually claim to be. So
Sure.
I think most of the civilizations on this planet, Dr. Agnew, are much older than we actually realize. Now, I'm saying this through other people that I heard because of what they've told me. I can't say it's fact. I can't prove it, but I believe it in my heart.
Well, the interesting thing when we think about ETs or extraterrestrial, let's just go back to Genesis. By the time you finish reading just the book of Genesis, you're introduced to 5 different races of beings, none of whom are from here. We are the ETs.
We are created from the Anunnaki.
I take exception.
I'm just using that because it comes from the Bible. Talk about the Anunnaki.
Well, I think maybe the biological transducer may be correct. We have been genetically manipulated. But the spirit that's inside of us is not from here. It has lived on many Earths, in many solar systems, and maybe even in many dimensions.
Also, when we were created we were created in many different galaxies and many planets, and we are a little bit different from one place to another, and I believe that we've been brought here to see if we can all get together and get along. Why you have one person that's black, one brown, one that's white. I mean, all the different nationalities did not come here on one Noah's Ark floating on the water. They were brought here through space, either through time or through craft. And with my goggles, I have seen the traveling of, and I know that we are from all over the universe, and that I hope we can pass tests along here and achieve it. And when I see craft that are flying and they stop, they turn off and set looking like a star, and then an hour or 2 hours later, and then fly away. They stopped at the roadside of mine and took a picnic, lunch, or a potty break, or just a good old sleep because the captain was getting tired. And this energy, whatever they're doing, is a big part of us being here. And are they watching us? Are they studying us? Are they trying to help us? Who is fighting with them? Could it be some of our military-industrial complex would rather keep control of us than having the good guys keep control? And who is the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Or is it a little of both? Now that one will make you think. That's a lot like the chicken or the egg.
Well, we're the good guys, Ed.
Well, I hope so, because some of the things that I see out there, unless you know and can really see some of these battles go on, it's pretty scary. And I'm often wondering, are they battling to come in and take over, or battling to protect us? They're definitely battling, and I don't care who thinks I'm crazy. It's for real. And I don't think they're just target practicing. So I hope the good side is winning.
This world is unique, I think, with its millions of species that live here and literally battle for an ecological balance every single day. Millions of species have passed away on this planet, and millions of species are being born and created on this planet by the process of life that this planet is endowed with. And I don't think it's any coincidence that there are 7 billion of us here, and Earth is about to go through this birthing process. It's going to go through this galactic plane. It's no coincidence that we are here as symbiotic intelligences getting ready to go through it with her.
So, Dr. Agnew, you think we're going through a planet expansion right now?
It has slowed because the Earth thrust has slowed down quite a bit because we conserve momentum. That's what happens with rotating bodies. And the synchronicity between the core and the crust is beginning to wobble because the crust is slowing down. The core is rotating at very close to its original frequency. It's a very, very dense 13 or 14 grams per cubic centimeter solid iron crystal. It has a lot of weight and a lot of momentum. And Newton theorized correctly that there's a force in any rotating coordinate of energy called the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect, according to Newton, in very simple terms, is there's a force that pushes at a right angle rotational set of coordinates. And if that were true, we would see our magnetic north begin to drift. That's exactly what we're seeing, the rate of about 25 miles per year. That's not a few yards. That's across town, guys. And over a period of years, we're seeing our poles head toward a pole shift. This is probably going to coincide somewhere in this solar cycle 24. The sun is acting very anomalous. The solar system is acting anomalous. And the planet's magnetic field is acting anomalous. And it's having an effect on the very DNA inside our biological transducer, our body.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been having some very, very bizarre dreams, Dr. Agnew, and this is this has been reoccurring with Earth upheavals. I've been having dreams of earthquakes and tsunamis and all kinds of anomalies taking place on the Earth, and these have been repetitive dreams lately for me. Now, I don't know if that's my subconscious mind talking about my life on a day-to-day process, or is this are these cognitive dreams that I'm having?
Well, I don't think you're alone. A lot of people are having these dreams, and almost to a person, they're occurring somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's exactly right.
I don't know if it has to do with our biorhythms or if it has to do with a pulse that's coming out of the galaxy on a regular basis, but that's when people are feeling it, when the Earth is in that position where our local time is around 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. It's pointing the Earth at a certain spot in space. That's when these dreams come to us. Some people act on those dreams, and some people just let them go through them and never act upon them.
But that's also when I'm waking up in the middle of the night, anywhere between 3, depending on the eastern, western part of the United States. I'm waking up 3:30, sometimes 4, sometimes earlier. But that's when I'm having these recurring dreams, and they're very, very vivid for me.
It doesn't California or North Carolina or China or Japan. It's the same time of night. So it has to do with this point in space that we're pointed at the time.
I agree, because I have that same thing during those same times, and I get almost a spiritual enlightenment during certain hours with awakening and sleep, almost at the in-between stage, and I get some of my best ideas and thoughts and inventions to work on during that period of time. And I believe that Einstein and a lot of other people have put it on record that during that period, when their mind is between certain levels, that they get some of their best thoughts and their best things.
Now, here's something that'll blow your mind. Every ancient civilization made note of this as well. Bet you anything that if you go outside and look up at the stars, you'll see Orion. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do that right after this show, by the way. And Dr. Agnew, we're running out of time. I can't believe the time has gone so quickly. Just kills me. I wish the show could go longer. But I want everybody to get Dr. Agnew's information, his website, and Dr. Agnew also has a radio show. I believe it's on Sunday nights. It's called X Squared Radio, an incredible show. I actually tune into him quite a bit. Because the information that you get from this man, you will hardly get from anybody else. You actually get truth. And that's what this show is about, truth, understanding, enlightenment. Dr. Agnew, please give out your information to this audience so they can find you on Sunday evenings.
Oh, sure. It's real simple. It's just xsquaredradio.com. If you can't remember it, put in X Squared Radio into Google, and it'll come up. It's free to listen live, 5 to 8 Pacific Time. We have, I think I got about 1,300 hours of archives on there, and I try to make it really affordable. It's like $1.07 a month, and you can access all those archives. They're broken into 1-hour segments, so you can put them on your iPod and take them with you. You can listen to them while you're at work, while you're working on your favorite project. And my latest book is called Remembering the Future, The Physics of the Soul and Time Travel. It is a self-help book from a scientific point of view. There's time travel in it, good stories in it, and it may help you to unlock the wealth of your life. And you can find it at that website or at rememberingthefuturebook.com. And if you order from that website, you're going to get the book autographed, and you're going to get the audio version free. So if you're not a great reader, don't worry about it. I read it for you. Of course, you can buy it at Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all the other online sellers as well.
And I would suggest everybody doing that. The information that's given from Dr. Agnew is irreplaceable, basically, because this man has seen the light. He's woken up from a very low frequency to a very high frequency of understanding of life, consciousness, the subconscious mind, the soul spirit mind, as well as Ed Grimsley. And this is why people like yourselves have come forward to share the knowledge with so many people who are so lost, just trying to understand the basic day-to-day life activity, why they're on this planet, for what reason, and not really understanding it. And how many people actually really pursue that. But Dr. Agnew, I want to thank you very, very much for being on this program, and hopefully you will join us for roundtables starting mid-November with Ed and myself. And Ed, I want to thank you for calling in and being part of this program. I was so surprised by you coming on.
Enjoyed it a lot, and I want to say that Dr. Agnew, work and what he's doing, I think he's one of the straight-up, more honest researchers that's out there trying to give you what's real, and he's not trying to make a big buck on it and strike it rich. And it's not a rumor about him having lots of money and being filthy rich already, so he doesn't need money.
And I got to tell you, I
like you, I'm not filthy rich.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Dr. Agnew, thank you so much. I'll be in touch with both of you. This has been the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I've been your host, Robert Fino, and we will see you Monday, and we'll have another incredible guest lined up for you. Everybody, have a wonderful, safe, great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.
You want to know something? I love my job. People calling into Life Change Tea saying, I love the tea. I just love the tea. I love the way it makes me feel. Love is a powerful word. But for some of you, you can't love the tea if you never tried it. It is my job to encourage new people to try Life Change Tea. So what could I tell you? Love is a beautiful thing. I can tell you this, I personally drink Life Change Tea every day. I love it. Anyway, if you want to order your tea, call us. 928-308-0408. Again, 928-308-0408. Or you can read up on our many products and order online. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea, spreading a little love for health.
Regardless of the dollar price involved, 1 ounce of gold would purchase a good quality man's suit at the conclusion of the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the presidency of Franklin Roosevelt, and